Good evening, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, whatever time zone it says that you are. Thank you very much for joining us once again on our monthly webinars. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We do not take your time for granted. And we have our special guests in the house already waiting for us. My name is Ayodele from Amani Health, and we have one of our seasoned therapists here to talk to us about one very important, very important topic that, most of us, we live life, but we don't really know that some of the decisions that we make, some of the things that we do stem from something from childhood. So we'll be learning about how those things that we've learned in childhood affect how we live as adults. And we have here today Madam Abosede Akinpade. She's going to be sharing about on the topic breaking free from childhood patterns, unpacking the habits, fears, and beliefs we learned at kids that still affect us today. Exactly what I said before. Some of the beliefs that we still hold, some of the things that we still do, some of the decisions that we'll make that's coming from the subconscious, but they are things that were learned from childhood. So over to you, ma'am. First, I would like you to do a brief introduction because it is only fair that our audience know who they are talking to, and so that they'll be able to know that yes, they are going to learn from one of the best today. So please, ma, kindly do a brief introduction of yourself before we get right into it.
All right, good evening, good morning, good everything, wherever you are. Yeah, my name is Abosede Akinpade. I'm a clinical psychologist for 10 years now. No, yeah, I've been working in the mental health space and I've recorded tremendous successes in this space.
Mm.
I'm also a substance abuse professional, male, female, general population. Also, I belong, to some of the association, National Association of Clinical Psychologists in Nigeria, American Psychological Association, and this mental health thing is everywhere, and that we know that there is no health without mental health.
True. Thank you very much for that brief but very powerful introduction. You've been doing this for over 10 years. That is a long time. I'm sure that you would have experienced a lot of things. You would have seen, this topic that we're about to, talk about today play out in some of the things that you have had to deal with. So childhood patterns. Let me start by asking, does it have anything to do with, when we say childhood patterns, does it have anything to do with who we are as adults? Where does our decision, all the things that we do now, is it that we just learned it from somewhere? What does childhood patterns or experiences, what do they have to do with our adulthood?
Wow. Childhood, is that time where you bake the individual. It's a baking period. For bakers, they understand whatever goes into their batter is what makes, whatever they are baking. So that childhood is a time where we mold the individual, and that shaping begins from there. So whatever they get at the time, be good, bad, or ugly, is going to, form into their subconsciousness, into their value system. Now, some children, they were raised in war-prone environments, in dysfunctional families, raised by single parenting, raised by somebody who is not their parent. Even some parent can, be abusing substances, thereby not giving, the right attention to the child. Some can actually be experiencing mental health issues or life-threatening issue at the time. Some might be experiencing postpartum depression, thereby they are not able to give love. And the child needs the four economy to survive. We have love. The child needs this love. to survive and become, a safe adult. Security. Security is also a key thing. If it is missing or it's not enough, the child can grow up to become an insecure adult. Also, attention and affection. Those 4 ingredients are key. Once a child is missing, any of that, it could result in a number of things: insecure adult, even some mental health issues that we now have, issues with self-esteem, issues with self-regulation, some patterns of people-pleasing behavior, self-criticism, engaging in negative self-talk. All of this becomes the child, way of dealing with issues. And especially when, they do not even have parents whom they could relay their emotions to. They find ways to deal with this situation on their own, be it safe or unsafe. They just make sure that they are going well. And some parents, because of cultural background, and maybe because of what they are going through, our cultures even tell children not to talk when adults are talking. They say, oh, your emotion also doesn't matter. If you tell your mom, if I tell my mom that I am sad, they said, no, you are hungry. So that emotion is not being dealt with. So a number of times when we try to communicate how we feel, it means, there's this wall that we meet, this brick that we meet. And once you communicate your emotion once or twice and then you don't get validation or you're being dismissed, then what's the need for you to communicate that emotion? And that child could sustain wound like rejection wound, abandonment wound, neglect wound. All of these wounds, there are 4 of them. All of these wounds will cause the child to now become an insecure person. And that's where insecure attachment comes in. We have avoidant, disorganized, we have dismissive, and one that is, really okay is the secure attachment. But how many people are having parents who are present these days? With the economy being what it is, everybody wants to make money, wants to make millions and live in Banana Island, thereby leaving their children to the care of maids, to the care of people who do not have the child's best interest at heart. All right, I hope you may have more questions. I don't want to.
Oh wow, like my notes is already full. Like it's like I'm listening to a master class already. Wow, wow, wow. This is a lot to unpack, really. This is a lot to unpack. So that means people who go about as adults with this kind of rejection, abandonment, neglect started from most likely when they were children. And like
Yes.
you said, I like the word that you used, bake. We were baked right from there. So
Yeah.
who we are now was baked when we were still little. That's actually that's formed it for me. Okay, so let's go on. So there's this concept that I would also like you to quickly touch on before we go to the question and answer. We have some questions from some of our audience already, but I would like you to quickly touch on the concept of inner child. There's this, so I was listening to a program some time ago, and the person was talking about repairing the inner child, things that just some of the things that you have said that you have already mentioned here now, but now having to do the repair work as an adult. How do you does the inner child, let's even start from the concept. What's the concept of the inner child? And for some of, I hear that everybody has an inner child, and for people who their inner child have been wounded or is wounded, what are the steps that they can take?
Okay. Now, the inner child is used to refer to the psyche that retains childhood experiences, emotions, and memories. Now, during the baking period, what are the ingredients that goes into the baking?
Hmm.
If a child gets love, of course, that goes into the memory. If
Mm.
a child gets safety, if a child gets attention and affection, that goes into the memory. If the
Mm.
environment is, sustainable for the child, it goes into the memory. And on the flip side, if the child is being battered, if a child is being, being, over, I don't want to use the word punished, because we would at least punish them when they do something that is wrong. But when the child is being overly criticized, when a child is being, abandoned, rejected, even for parents who are living apart, maybe the father is always traveling, there's this longing. So when they say people have daddy issues, mommy issues, that is where all those are coming from. Because this person is always longing to have the father around. And then when they grow up to become adults, they become clingy individual. Because when they now start having relationship of their own, they want to hold on tightly to that male figure. They feel that this is the daddy that they have missed, and they want that person to now replace and become the new daddy. And this other person will not think this is too much responsibility for me to bear and run away. So this inner child is the retention of whatever experiences that we gather when we are in the baking period.
Wow.
And the truth is, we are actually not responsible for what goes into it. The environment does. According to John Locke, he said that we come into this world with a tabula rasa, the environment right on it. And then we use this model, is biopsychosocial model. There is a biological input, there is a psychological input, and there is an environmental input. Three of them work together to determine how we feel and what we do. That is how we behave. So this inner child is what we have been able to retain. Are we able to retain the good time? Are we only able to retain the bad time? And because the brain does not even know reality, the brain holds on to negative most often. The brain will be holding on to negative pattern, how things didn't go well. And then because of the retention and the rehearsal that the brain gets to continue to make this situation look real, make look fresh, look like recent, there is this constant replay in the mind of anyone. So when they grow up to become mistrusting, when they grow up to become clingy, when they grow up to become dismissive, means that what goes into the training? There is what? Sparsity of love, there's sparsity of attention, all of the ingredients that makes up the old child. But then the inner child can be, we can retrain the inner child by, understanding the pattern, recognize that, and validate your inner child's experience. Yeah, it might be, it might not be what you want, but once we stay and become rigid of how things should be and how things should not be, we may not enjoy life to the fullest. Like I said before, we are not responsible for what we experience, but we are responsible for how we maintain this over time. So we can practice self-compassion, with the inner child, reparent the inner child. Imagine giving yourself, the care and support that you need. All of that, you get emotional healing, you become aware of your emotions and now to deal with them. In fact, this might actually, we actually improve your life, your relationship, your goals, and, everything in general.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you. So my take home from what you just said right now is that even though the inner child has had some experiences that may be negative, some may be positive, and even though those negative experiences still control the adults now, it can be retrained. I love that. That means nobody is stuck. What we need to do is to recognize, like you said, become aware of the patterns, validate the experiences, and then we begin to heal from there. I love that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You answered all my questions. Wow, 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 wow. And I also like your definition of the inner child, where it says the psyche that retains childhood experiences. So we, as children, we really do not have control over what we retain. But
Mhm.
it is what it is. Now that you're an adult and you realize that this is not really, this should not be normal. Why am I behaving this way? So I think it starts from awareness, like you said. It starts from the person becoming aware of the patterns and then seeking help. That part is very, very important. In this part of the world, we don't want to, we over, how will I say it now? But seeking help is a sign that you love yourself, really. Maybe you're going to speak to that, later. So, yes, to some of the questions, we have some questions here already, like I said, from some of our audience. And we may not be able to take everything because, we want to keep this under 45 minutes at most. So, the first question, so somebody asks, why do I need to suppress my fears and emotions? Why do I need to suppress my fears and emotions? Wow. That's that. I think I already know the answer to that, but as a therapist, I would like you to to answer that. Please go ahead, Ma.
Maybe I think I need to reframe this question. Why do I need? Is there a need to even suppress, or why do I suppress my emotion and fear?
Exactly.
Now, the question is, why do people do that? Fear of rejection, anyways. Fear of, being judged. Fear of being seen as the bad egg, as the not obedient child. And because some parents, there's a way they groom the child to be the good child. Some they call them good boy syndrome, good girl syndrome, where they only do things that makes the parent happy and nobody gets to complain. Don't complain, just suck it up. Find a way to deal with it. So when people suppress their emotion, there is a fear, because fear of judgment, fear of being vulnerable. They don't want to open themselves. They don't want to be exposed. The cultural norms are also there. The cultures that teaches you to not talk about your emotion. The culture that rejects your emotional, the way you go about your emotion. They don't even understand what emotion is in the first place. So, and the norms, it discourages emotional expression. Also, trauma, past trauma, yes, may lead to emotional suppression. Also, even with the trauma, most people, they blame the trauma victim. If a girl who goes to a boy's house get raped, they said, why did you go there? Yeah, you have Ojuko Koroche, you are collecting money from him. Now they blame the victim, say, hey, what you're wearing. What you're wearing is what because you keep opening yourself up and down. So when trauma happens, it even changes our outlook on life in itself. And then someone gets to be blamed for that unfortunate incident. Then, of course, why would I not keep things to myself? Because if I say it anyways, I get judged. And some use it as a coping mechanism. They use avoidance, because some, may have the belief that if I talk about my emotion, I will feel more pain. If I expose my emotion, I will not be able to get over it. So fear of not being able to deal with their emotion is also there. They're also trying to protect themselves. This suppression is, they want to build a wall just so that they protect themselves from praying highs, from people getting to know what really happened. And then this thing goes on and on, becomes a cyclical thing, and they are unable to help themselves until they start speaking about it. I try as much as possible to encourage my client to speak about their fears, telling them it's a no judgment zone. And your emotions, they are neither right nor wrong. It is just an expression of how you feel, regardless of what happened. And most of them, when they now say what happened, is, Even you as a therapist, you're like, okay, these things can happen. But because of what they believe, their belief system holds it very strong. Yeah, we can't blame them. It is how they have been trained to think about things.
Wow. Wow. So I hope that the person who asked this question is listening and you have gotten enough insights to be able to deal with these fears and emotions. You don't need, like you rightly said, you don't need to suppress your emotions. There shouldn't be a need to suppress your emotions. And if you feel the need to, then it is most likely coming from some of these things that you have mentioned. So it will be good for this person to probably trace where this is coming from and
Yes.
speak up and seek help, because you can't continue to live in fear. It will definitely hold you back from so many things. So
Keeps you stuck
it's not
from,
yeah, it's not a good way to live. It's not a good way to live. Okay, so yes. Another question says, how do I set healthy boundaries? Okay, maybe I should combine it with another one. So how do I set healthy boundaries? Another person said, how do I learn how to stop pleasing everyone? So I think it's it's almost the same thing. How do I set healthy boundaries and how do I stop pleasing everybody?
Okay. So I like to call boundaries energy shield because they
Wow,
protect
I
you
like that.
from, yeah, anything that makes you feel disconnected from happiness.
Wow.
Yeah. Your boundaries can be physical or emotional, and they are essential to having, it is very essential to having a balance and healthy, boundaries. Knowing your boundaries and sticking by them is you being able to define your limits, the do's and don'ts. And setting boundaries is essential in identifying who you are as a person, your standard, your value, and expectations. They are your personal perimeters, and they are crucial for your mental health and well-being.
Wow.
So there are some examples of boundaries: being comfortable to say no, yeah, to anything that
So
makes you
many
feel,
people have
yeah, bad.
issues with that.
Not accepting responsibility for the action of other people, setting deal breakers you won't tolerate, physical and emotional distance. Some people don't like to be touched, don't touch them. A balance of give and take. Yeah, relationship should be 50-50, or depending on how you people have shared it. Values, morals, believe that you won't compromise for anything. Now, on the flip side, the people pleasing, yeah, this people pleasing comes from also training as a child. If your parents just emphasize on the good boy, good girl kind of thing, and they always, there's this kind of reinforcement that comes with do this and get this, then you think, oh, I must always get my parents' approval. So there's this need for approval, need for love, of course. If there's this ego disturbance that defines the person, they now hold unconditional belief, unconditional should and absolutistic must on love and approval. Of course, they will go extra lengths. They'll be afraid of what other people will say. They will not be able to say no, meaning that no boundaries, no assertiveness.
Wow.
Yeah, because they will not be able to set boundaries because they have issues with saying no. They always care about what other people say. They are unable to even understand themselves. They think once my mommy is happy, I am happy. Once other people are happy. So when they are getting drained, they know they still go ahead. So it's almost like a fun process in the stress, the 4 types of stress, the way we respond to stress. There is this fight where we fight the stressor because we have a belief that we can, overcome. The flight is when you run away. The freeze is when you're unable to move, paralyzed cognitively or physically. You're unable to move physically. You may not be able to think about solution in time. And the fun aspect is when you are neither running or fighting is where, you know, you just like, oh, let me just stay here. That's when the people pleasing thing will come in. Yeah, you are not happy with what is going on. However, you are not doing anything about it. You are not running away, and you are not fighting back. You are not. So all of that will make you become passive. And then, you know, the situation goes on and on until you become overwhelmed. And this can actually lead to, you know, resentment, where, you know, this person now resent people around them. So it can even lead to homicide.
Wow.
Yeah, because when they see they are, you know, they might get to the point of anger where they might think of killing, you know, somebody because they want to be free, or they can become attached to their, to, you know, to their trauma, you know, person. Like, oh, where will I go? Now, people in toxic relationship where they have the, you know, the belief that, oh, I must stay with my children. I must not leave my husband out. Oh, it's happening in my family. So if whatever is happening to me, I stay. It is a fun situation where they have believed that whatever is happening, I stay here. So they believe that they will not be able to help themselves if they leave certain situation. So people pleasing is also part of it, where you want to please everybody just to prove a point to yourself. That's what you are a good person. And there's difference between being nice and being, you know, and people pleasing. Yes, being nice is good, you know, it makes you are somebody who wants to help. But people pleasing is when you cannot stop saying no, you are preoccupied with what people say, might think, you are guilty. Even when you tell people no, you are guilty. You fear turning people down. You agree to things you don't like.
Wow.
You will struggle with low self-esteem. You want people to like you and feel that you're doing things for them to earn their approval. You're always telling people sorry when someone apologizes a lot. You know, that's people pleasing. You take blame even when something is not your fault. You never have any free time for yourself. Even you feel guilty for having a free time for yourself. You will neglect your own needs and you pretend to agree with other people even when you feel differently. All of that will lead to a number of issues: low self-esteem, insecurity, you know, perfection. All of those things will result in distresses, and it can turn pain to suffering.
Wow. Like I said in the beginning, this is indeed a master class because you are unpacking a whole lot of things, and this is really important because this is very relatable. You see this play out like every day. You see this play out amongst, you know, in people every day. So this is not like it's just something that we are just thinking in the air. This is like real life situations. And of course, these questions are from real people. So I can imagine what they are going through for them to be asking this. And I hope that, you know, your response has definitely broken down these things, and you know it is very, very explicit, you know. So anybody, if you are going through any of the questions that we've asked, setting healthy boundaries, pleasing, you have people pleasing tendencies, then I'm sure that this has been very, very impactful for you. So let's ask this other question. I grew up believing making male friends is a bad thing. How do I unlearn this? And somebody also said, I am always afraid. How can I stop this fear? I think that
Okay, I
already
think we do
is
take them
right.
one after another.
Okay, yes, it's actually not the same. I grew up believing making male friends is a bad thing. How do I unlearn this? Maybe you want to take that first.
It's one of those things you have told us that year, that when a man
Exactly.
touches you, you'll be pregnant. It became a belief system. Now, people are experiencing, have you had people experiencing vaginosis? Vaginismus, right? Yes.
Yes, I've heard that. I've heard
It's
that.
one of the belief that when the man touches you, you'll be pregnant. So that has formed a fear. Now, even when this person gets married, there's still fear
Yeah.
in the mind that, oh, this is wrong. I shouldn't be doing this. Now, religion also places this fear on us. I wish they have relayed all this message to us in a way that we understand this. But some people will now take this message literally and just, go in with the flow without exploring it. And because there's a way, they have taught us that it's either you do this or you go to hellfire. So there's this consequence of, not wanting to burn in hell because you're even thinking about your sex, or if you are even looking at anything that looks like genitals, or that you're even coming in contact with it. So now the male figure has now been identified as a no-go area. And because of belief that, oh, man and a woman cannot be together, what are they doing? They can't be friends. People say that a lot. I say, okay, why would you say a guy is your friend? A guy cannot be your friend. Male and females are not friends. It's only female, or male. But the number of persons understand that, oh, I don't, even myself, I really do not flow with females as such. I have more male friends than female friends. Yeah, I got a lot of lashing at the time. People said things I really didn't care. Because girls, to me at the time, they do a lot of gossiping. And once this person is my friend, in my head, you shouldn't be friends with other people. But girls want to have, friends. And for me, if you are not my friend and my friend, then you are an acquaintance. So I prefer to be with guys. I play rough. I say things that they don't even get angry about. But you cannot try that with girls. So being with a male friend does not mean that you're doing anything wrong. It just means that this is the person that shares your value, that shares your belief, that understand how you feel. And with whichever gender that person is your friend. Even there's a Yoruba song that says that that person who helps you is your second person.
Okay. Is it by Obey or who sang the song now?
He said, it is your soulmate. So whoever you find, accepts you the way you are, is even helping you to grow. If you are able to bond with this person, you are most vulnerable with this person. Because when you tell a friend, a female people, I'm not trying, but female people, you tell a friend, other people have heard. Male too are doing that. I'm not trying to, do a gender disparity. However, if having friends with female is what you cannot do, and you can do the male friend, is not a bad thing, please. How do you unlearn this? Number one, what are your beliefs? You need to start, working to modifying these beliefs. These beliefs that, oh, when a male comes to you, he's about to ask you out. And people, especially, some people, somebody's just maybe staring, you think he's looking at you, think, that guy wants to ask me out. Now be doing mind reading. And eventually that guy is dating somebody. And then you not think, oh, that guy, he didn't do anything. He never did. He never asked you out. So you want to unpack this belief that you have. You want to question it and break it down. And if any male friend, any male person have not asked you question defining your relationship, that person is your friend. We shouldn't jump ahead of ourselves to think that this person is about to do something. What if he doesn't do it? What if, he might actually have the intention. What if he's not even strong enough to even say it? And then you start, Okay, the next question.
Thank you very much for that. That's a very you did a very good example, because truly that it's coming. I'm sure that this is coming from a place of belief, like what the person has been made to believe, that making male friends, if they touch you, you got pregnant. If they those are the kind of things that now form beliefs, and then you start to act on it. Okay, so I am always afraid. How can I stop this fear? Wow. I am
Okay.
always afraid. How can I stop this fear?
Yeah, fear stems from, in this context, I would have loved this person to tell us what they're afraid of.
Exactly.
Yeah, because if it's afraid of what?
Exactly.
So if they're afraid of that something will happen or something will not happen. So we need to be able to define this fear. Okay, how can we stop fear? Let's say fear. You want to recognize this fear. Is it real or perceived?
Hmm.
You want to understand because fear is a response to real danger.
Hmm.
But anxiety is a perception of what? Danger.
Hmm.
So if there is something to actually be afraid of course you should be afraid. If you are not afraid, there's problem. Now we all know that when there's a running car in front of you, you should be afraid. When you see a bear or a lion coming towards you, of course you should be afraid. But when you now see a teddy bear or you hear somebody farting and you just misinterpreting it as a gunshot, there's problem.
Wow, wow,
Sorry,
wow.
I'm sorry for you that because a number
No,
of
but that's
misinterpretation,
really good.
a number of misinterpretation are being made up in the mind of people that
Hmm.
will not prepare them to fear. So we need to understand what this person is actually afraid of, but how can we stop fear? Understand, is this fear real or perceived? Am I jumping ahead of myself? Is this based out of feeling or based on fact?
Hmm.
What are my interpretation of the situation?
Hmm. Hmm.
So yes. So I
Wow.
think maybe this person can just retype the question and then we'll be able to have the full answer to it.
Yeah. Because I'm always afraid. It's kind of vague, like afraid of what exactly. And thank you. At least you took the part of how the person can stop the fear. Is it real or perceived? So you may want to retype your question or make it clearer so that it can be better addressed. Okay, so somebody also said I have this fear of rejection and abandonment. I think you've already touched on this though. How do I overcome it? You've already touched on this. Somebody also said, how do I get past trust issues? How do I get past trust issues? I think this would be our last question for
Okay.
today.
Yeah, I guess this person is it Eric Harrison, who talks about the stages of emotional development. And during the years of 0 to 2 is the forming stage where there's trust and mistrust. If a child cannot trust the caregiver to give them love, to be there for them, to give them affection, attention, and safety, that child will grow up to become mistrusting individual. If a mother leaves the child at a caregiver's place and say, I'm coming back, and this mother does not come back, or I am going to buy you something, I'm going to bring something to you, but they keep doing this, the child is confused. And when the child grows, like, okay, nobody ever fulfilled any promises. I am not important to anyone. So they grow up to have these trust issues, thinking they need to, like do things themselves. They need to watch out themselves. They only have themselves. They can start having some mental health, even personality issues like antisocial personality, where they want to get things themselves. They become self-indulgent. They become self-dependent. They become dismissive individuals. And some, because of low self-esteem that they might have, derived from that, they become narcissistic. And then, they now overcompensate for those things they lacked. And then, they go out, you think that, oh, this grandiosity, but all of those are compensation for the low self-esteem that they feel. So trust issues can be dealt with. You want to understand the pattern. How, am I spiraling out of control? because most of this time it is generalized because they don't even know whom to trust. You want to understand how has trust affected me in the past, and you want to ask yourself, what can I do better? These people, you want to start seeing people as people. You want to start seeing yourself as yourself, not having a positive view of yourself and negative view of others. That is you going to a relationship or going to a group with a preconceived ideas that you only have yourself to, to help out. That way, your interpersonal relationship will suffer a lot of lashing. So how do you want to get past this trust issue? You understand that this trust is something that you want to, you want to be aware of. You want to be aware of thoughts that are spiraling in your mind when somebody is saying something and you're like, this person is lying to me. You want to be more objective. Yes, I'm not saying that you should become trusting and you trust everybody, but you want to be able to define what is the lie, what is the truth. You want to be more objective rather than staying, this trust issue is more of emotional reason because of subjective, reason you have based on, your growing up. It feels that everybody lies to you. But in the true sense, does everybody lie? Yeah. Does everybody give promises, and not, yes, you also need to understand your cycle of control.
Yeah.
So you want to know what is within your control and what is outside of your control. That way you want to understand that people's behavior, people's opinion, people's how people take care of themselves, the outcome of your efforts is not within your control. The past, the future is also not within your control. But most of the time, people want to control what is outside of their control and they leave what they can control unattended. And what is within my control? Well, what I give my energy to, my thoughts and action, how I take care of myself, what I do with my free time, who I follow on social media. All the high statements is what is within your control. So knowing that you might have a preconceived notion about you trusting other people is you becoming more aware of your emotions. Knowing that your emotions, they are automatic, they are out of habit, and they have a way of blocking your goals, causing you emotional distresses. So with trust, you want to learn to be more objective rather than being subjective, rather than using past experience to define the present moment. You want to stay in the moment to understand what is going on, or know what is going on in between you, analyze situation based on objectivity rather than subjectivity.
Wow. Wow. Thank you very much. Thank you. I have learned a whole lot from this. And I would like to just before you give us, just before we round up, I would like to say something, share one of my experiences. So when we have two daughters, we call them world famous and excellent. So when they were a bit younger, like about 3, 1 or so, I used to read a lot of parenting books, read a lot online then, because I just knew that something was wrong in the way I was parented and I want better. So I found out that anytime that we were going out, maybe my husband was going out or I was going out, and we tell, what they used to do to us then, and we tell my children that I'm coming, or I'm not going out. And then you just close the door and you run. Or the person goes out and they cry and cry and cry, and they come back and you come back and they say, but you said you were not going out. You said all those things where you say, okay, and mommy, I want to follow you. And then you say, just go and wear your slippers. Go and wear your slippers, I'll wait for you. Before they come out, you have gone. So I now realize that I just realized that no, this doesn't work. And I just told my husband that let's do it this way. Let's communicate. We think that these children do not understand, but they actually do understand. Let's communicate to them. If you are going out, okay, so I am going to so and so, even though they don't know where you're going, but communicate. I will be back by so and so. You cannot go with me. Stay with maybe mommy or stay with daddy, and realize that when the person is going, they will even say bye-bye. Mommy, bye-bye. So we now that you mentioned, that just came to mind when you mentioned, the ages where we form trust and mistrust, and all those things that go on in childhood. I was like, okay, so this could have led to them interpreting it as, you can't trust these people, because anytime they say something, they do the opposite. Anyway, I just wanted to share that experience. Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you, thank you, thank you. My note is full. Thank you. Like I said, this is a master class. We are really, really so thankful that you chose to do this with us, and I'm sure that our audience too have also learned a whole lot from today. And everybody who has asked these questions, you have also learned one or two things, more than one or two things actually, because my own notes is full. So just as a way to round off, what would you say to anybody who is going through, or who knows that something is wrong, but has not come to the realization that this could be as a result of maybe childhood trauma or something that happened in childhood? How would you, as as a professional, how would you suggest, or what would you recommend that they do to retrain that inner child? Yes.
It's quite challenging. They might need to speak up with a professional. Yeah, there is no, we can bullet some points, say, oh, retrain, become aware of your emotions. But how do you do that? This space is not enough to give
Exactly.
all that points. You need to speak to a professional where we don't, deep dive into the, deep-rooted wound and unpack all of these things, helping you and guiding you through, through this puzzle to get you out, into a safe place.
Wow, thank you very much. So please, speaking up is a sign that you actually love yourself. Speaking up is a sign that you really want better for yourself. Thank you so much. So if you are dealing with any of these things that have been mentioned, you may really need to talk to a professional. And please, we would like to share your maybe social media handles where people can reach you, so that they follow you, and we can also connect you to people who may need this help.
Okay. On LinkedIn, it's Crystal Mike Consultant. Yeah, on the Instagram, Crystal Mike Consultant as well.
Sorry, I didn't get that.
On Instagram, Crystal Mike Consultant.
Crystal Mind, okay.
Yes, on Amani Health. My name is Abosede Akipade, so you can come Amani. Yeah.
Yeah, she's also one of our most sought after therapists on Amani platform. Thank you, ma'am. Okay, so be sure to follow her. I will also leave this in the community so that you can follow, and if you need help, you can reach out. Thank you so very much, ma'am, for your time. Thank you for this nuggets. This one are even nuggets, for this insight that you have given to this topic. You have broken it down in a way that we understand. Thank you so very much, ma'am. Thank you for your time and for sharing with us today. We would like to release you now. We don't want to keep you any longer. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. You can log off now.
Bye. Thank you.
All right, ma'am. Thank you. Bye. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining yet another live with one of our therapists. She's a professional of over 10 years. So if you didn't listen to it, then you may really want to catch a replay, because like I said, my own notes is full. This is like a whole master class on its own. And we'll also be sharing our handles. And like I said, she's also one of our therapists on the Amani platform. So if you need to talk through these things with any professional, we are here for you at Amani. Go to www.amanihealth.app, where you can get to speak to a professional. You really do not have to carry all this burden all by yourself. Life was not made to be done alone. So speak up, get help, and then so that you can live the life that you really deserve to live. Thank you very much again. And this is me signing out for now. Thank you for joining us. And we look forward to yet another life soon. All right, bye.